the course is going to be fantastic. I'm super excited about it. We're going through it now, and it's actually it's huge. I've spent probably 70 hours in front of a camera and editing it, all the graphics. It's going to be really, really nice and look great. And the object is, obviously my main focus is to help singers everywhere save time and money and frustration, because a lot of the frustrations we go through, we don't need to go through if we have the right information and the right coaching. And also it's going to be a great tool for teachers, because like I said, if you do any coaching at all, I mean, how many times have you repeated yourself in the last year? Right, a ton of times. Now, if you had a resource where that you could use as a tool that is going to teach singers correct principles, and then you can go ahead and work most of your coaching time on helping those singers on the application and refining that, it's just going to save you so much time. I just got to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say this ever again. We all start at the beginning with every student, but instead of wasting time in the sessions, where students might lose interest over time, is my experience, because there's so much education they actually need, right? If they're spending 20 minutes out of a 30-minute session just on getting instruction, the actual singing time is like 5 to 10 minutes. After time, they're like, I'm never going to get this. It's just too much. Whereas if you can have them doing that learning on their homework before they get there, then you can actually maximize the efficiency of your session. And what happens? Your client's happier. They're going to start improving faster, and guess what? That's going to up your client retention. And also, the word of mouth is going to be good for you too, because they're getting better results. So I'm hopeful that not only singers will find this useful, but it will save a lot of teachers' time. Having a nice resource that really just helps people. So it goes through some anatomy stuff. Goes through a lot of anatomy, but so when we talk, and there's different skills. So the practice technique is going to be part of it. Also, emotional layering. I'm really big on emotional layering, because I believe that I call it emotional layering instead of interpretation, because I think the most important part about interpretation is the layering of your sound with emotion. Our vocal imprint takes on completely different spectrum when we're connected with emotion, when we're interpreting a song, and that's normal. And the human ear hears it and recognizes it like that. It's just normal. If you hear me in speech every day, right now I'm speaking calmly, you recognize that. If I'm like, oh my, yeah, and I really want to do this, and I got to click on this button, all of a sudden you hear stress in my voice, right? And the same thing is going to be with singing. You hear the sincerity, you hear the love, you hear the passion, you hear the pain. We don't have to the words aren't as important as the sound. Right? That's why anywhere in the world, if you hear somebody going, you're going to be thinking sound, complaining, something's really not that great. And if you hear somebody going, oh yeah, whoa yeah, they're happy. So the words are regardless. So emotional layering is educating people on the skill of how to not just interpret a song, but to using techniques that actually have been shown to help you find emotion in yourself, and that translate for the listener as emotion. So we're going to have from working from the inside out. That's the extensive process. Working from the outside in. If I look at you like this, what do you think I am? Happy, right? If I look at you like this, you're going to think surprise. If I look at you like this, kind of displeasure. So there are also some facial expressions that are universal no matter where you go in the world. If you go into the jungle and you can only communicate through facial expressions, if you know these things, you're going to communicate effectively. There's research on that. And the one part of the course that I'm going to add is, still haven't got that in there yet, is physical movement and motion. Certain movements and gestures actually psychologically in your brain create emotion. So there's a lot of tools in this emotional layering element to help singers connect. And when you do, and this is my experience as well, when you do, all of your singing technique gets better. It's like magic, because it taps into your instinctual knowledge of how to produce sound. We already know how to do this, and we do it every day. So when you tap into your instinctual knowledge on that emotional level, you're not only tapping into your subconscious ability, you're communicating to other people's subconscious. It's extremely powerful. And I know one coach. All he does is work with people on this. He doesn't teach any other singing technique. And he gets amazing results. It's very, very rare that he doesn't get perfect results. Okay? But there's more to singing to that for me. So then we talk about airflow control. I'm going to go through. See you, Tato. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to go into the airflow control. First, we're going to go through the anatomy. How do we breathe? How do we get air in and out? And then we'll get into the technique. And by showing anatomy, whenever I refer to it again and again in the course, people are going to know the entire anatomy of respiration, not the entire anatomy. I can't say that because it's very complicated. So I focus on the muscles we have conscious control over. There's a lot of involuntary actions. So we only need to be concerned about muscles that we can consciously manipulate. Everything else, it's a waste of time. It's going to happen as one system. And then dynamic movement potential is something I invented these words. It's a mixture out of what we need in singing and also looking at sports science and how muscles work. So there's concentric, eccentric contractions, and I've gone through this in my lifetime. From when I was first starting, in athletics, they would have you bounce up and down to stretch. And that quickly became no. You just go down there and you hold for a long time and then you go on. And now they don't do that really anymore either. They do what they call dynamic movement, dynamic stretching. And they found that if you keep the muscle in motion, in the sustained motion like Tai Chi, for example, you actually prepare the muscles better to work. And the performance of the athlete goes up through dynamic warm-up as opposed to stretching, which actually stretches and weakens the muscle fibers before they perform. So it's evolved a lot. Sports science has evolved a lot. And singing for me is an activity. It's in motion. So when I say dynamic movement potential, I'm talking about using the muscles, all the little intricate muscles, keeping them in a state of dynamic movement potential, a state of readiness. And so we just go through exercises on how to monitor that, how to look for that inside your body and your singing, because that keeps singing fluid. A lot of what Josephine experienced today, there's a huge difference. It's like a 1% or a 0.5% adjustment that pays you like 200% dividends. It's not a big adjustment, but the returns are so big because everybody can hear it immediately and you feel it immediately. And by far the most complex part of the course is sound design. Because we know it's just simple. The vocal folds don't make nothing we hear sounds like what is produced here. What's produced here is a buzz on different pitches. Okay? And what happens from there up on the way out creates style. Every single style of singing is only based on the shape from the lips down to the vocal folds. That's it. That's how speech is. That's how language is. Every human being is walking around the planet going sounds ridiculous, but the shapes and activities created above that creates language, creates singing, creates different styles, creates different genres. So understanding that, and then I'll go through the entire anatomy of from here all the way down. So little by little, and repeat that over and over and over. So you'll know the entire anatomy without even trying, because through just repetition and graphics. And then the singer really has control over their vocal identity, over their personal singing style. If they want to sing opera, if they want to sing pop, jazz, whatever it is, when they understand this shaping and how it works, and that includes vowel modification, that includes twang, that includes resonance, that includes creating space, narrowing spaces. All of those things gives you complete control over your sound. And so those are the 4 activities of singing. And the magical part about them is, in my experience, if you improve one, they all improve at the same time. So by going through and improving one at a time, you're not neglecting any area. It's all getting better. And that's this power of multiplication we talked about today. It's pretty logical, right? If you work out your back and you're doing pull-ups, and you've only ever worked out your back, you're going to do quite a few pull-ups. Now, if you start working out your biceps and your chest, guess what? You're going to do more pull-ups without doing anything else, because every improvement has an effect on the entire system, right? And then the magical thing is, okay, then now, for example, Josephine and Milena, they're going to work this into their muscle memory, into their technique, and guess what? Then they can concentrate on new things. Where if you never fix that issue, you never get the luxury of being able to focus in on one thing at a time, because you're always dealing with everything. And I think that's a source of a lot of frustration for singers and teachers too. Right? So I just, since you all stayed on a little bit longer, I just want to give you a little bit more detailed information of what's coming up in the course. It's great. There's a lot of videos, really nice graphics. You can read it. We're going to have subtitles. Also, I'm going to include some examples. So I'll teach part of the course, and then I'll have a video of me coaching somebody on that technique, so you can see how it works in practice. And then we'll do, like I said, every month, the 4th week of the month, we plan to do a couple live streams, a couple different times for each one of the 4 activities of singing, so people can tune in and ask questions and get coaching, to have that element. Because I firmly believe nobody can make it on their own. We all need a mentor, we all need a coach, everybody. And I mean, look, do we have any professional athletes out there not having constant coaching? I mean, they've got everything. I mean, they've got a dietitian, they've got a physiotherapist, they have a chiropractor, they have a doctor, they have a movement analysis, they have a technical coach. It's because it's big money, It's big money. But most, in my 30-year career, very, very few singers have a singing specialized masseuse with them working on their neck and back and throat before they sing. Very few of them have their vocal coach with them that they warm up with. I know a couple that actually did like a distance online session, and I'll do that with clients as well to get them warmed up and help their confidence. And very fewer yet have somebody that actually knows about singing sitting in the audience taking notes. It's because there's not the same level of money in it, and nobody's really done that before. Now, if we get to the big pop stars, some of them do that. Some of them take a coach online, or some of them have flying the coach for a couple weeks. And a lot of them have, somebody coming in doing cranial facial massage work and things like that while they're on tour. But now you're talking about just a level that normal people can't really afford, And I would love to have had my team with me all the time, but I was never making, performers don't make that much money. Very few do. You have your elite opera echelon that makes $20,000 and $30,000 per performance. They might be able to do that, but they don't have a lot of performances. It's nothing compared to what a pop singer or a touring artist has. They're doing 100 shows, 150 shows a year, some of them. An opera singer maybe has 50 concerts a year. So you have a completely different level of ability. But I think it would be nice if producers and talent agents and lawyers started to manage their talent better. You know, thinking long term, because they don't really think long term. They think let's take advantage of what's there as long as it's there. And if they get lucky and the artist is smart and is managing themselves well and has a lifelong career, okay, then they make a lot of money. But usually they're just trying to cash in as much as they can until that singer breaks. That's the sad truth. Have a great day. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime.